And now we turn to the state of the U.S. economy. Here in the U.S., the Federal Reserve yesterday raised interest rates by another half point in its ongoing fight to curb inflation. Joining us now, Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, Wally Adeyemo. Wally, thank you very much for joining us. So the latest rate hike causes obviously a reaction, but are we looking at, there's a lot of talk about this being more of a soft landing. What are officials in the U.S. government feeling about the strength of the U.S. economy moving forward?
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be back on the show. And we feel good about the strength of the U.S. economy. We've created more jobs in the first 2 years of President Biden's administration than at any time in the last 50 years. We still see a great deal of momentum in the economy in terms of consumer demand is still strong. Over the course of the last few weeks, I've had a chance to sit down with CEOs who tell me that from their perspective, they're still getting orders from consumers, from other businesses. They feel good about their order books. And sitting down with leaders from Africa and around the world over the last few weeks, they all are amazed by the strength of the American economy, which isn't something that happened without the hard work and determination of the American people and the policy choices we've made to get out of the COVID epidemic and to deal with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And I think that we often think about what we're doing for the Ukrainian people, but we also need to think about what the Ukrainian people are doing for all of us in terms of not only defending the values we all stand for, but the reason that energy prices have been so high and the reason that food costs are so high is partially because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and their weaponization of both of those things. So ending that war as quickly as possible, making sure that invasion ends, is not only good for our values, but it's also good for our economy.
Hey, Wally, good morning. Jonathan Lemire. They just showed the stock futures board. Lots of red there. But you mentioned something I wanted to follow up on. We've noticed gas prices, of course, really fallen. You guys have been quick to point that out. Food prices, less so. It's certainly a real strain on consumers when they go to the grocery store day in and day out. What more can be done about that, particularly as we head into the holidays?
I think one of the most important things is making sure that we end Russia's invasion of Ukraine as quickly as possible. It's important to remember that Ukraine is one of the largest producers of wheat in the world, and many of these markets are global. So what that means is if people can't get their wheat from Ukraine in Europe or in Africa, they're buying it from somewhere else and increasing costs in countries like the United States. So that's why we're focused on making sure that we give the Ukrainians the resources they need to make sure that they can end that war as quickly as possible. In addition to doing that, it comes down to making sure that we take the steps to increase the supply of the things that are needed to produce agriculture in our country. And the president's really focused on making sure that we do that. One of the key inputs to everything is gasoline. It takes gas and diesel to move the food that is produced, and those costs are embedded in food. So a big part of our goal has been to bring down the cost of fuel. And as you pointed out, we've seen fuel costs decreased by $1.50 since their peak this summer. And we're going to keep taking every step we can to reduce supply constraints in the economy. A year ago, I was in Long Beach, California, visiting the then mayor and now congressman, and I looked out the port of Long Beach and you could see 100 ships out there that were unable to load, which leads to higher costs. Today, that is diminished to almost zero ships because of the work we've done to decrease supply chains. So we're going to keep doing that.
Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, Wally Adeyemo, thank you very much for coming back on the show this morning. We appreciate it.